entertaining podcasts I listen to. I don't listen to many. That one, Francine, is a different point of view. It's a female point of view, but someone who's been through the hardcore wars.
Yes.
So what Francine has to say to me matters and is important. And there are two guys up in New York, Monte and the Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
I find them hugely entertaining. I find them fun to listen to. But those three are the only three podcasts really other than, the PW Insider stuff that I.
We're visiting Pharaoh's here after last night's Super ECW tribute show.
Deluxe.
Pharaoh's looking good though as he gets older. He can handle his liquor a little better, right? But we'll be flowing around. Hopefully, get to see a few people. We'll be posting these videos. So we'll talk to you soon.
I don't care if they talk shit. I don't talk to hypocrites. If you hate me, that's just fine. Go on down and get in line. They try to tell me what I need, and it sure ain't nothing good for me. Don't care what they say, it's all just talk. Gonna head my way and walk my walk. They try to bend me, but I won't break. I pay no mind to the noise they make. I keep my head, I hold my ground. Ain't no man gonna knock me down. They can swing, but I won't flinch. I was built for times like this. So talk your shit, but be aware. I don't care.
All right, welcome to the Howard Stern of Pro Wrestling, Monte The Pharaoh. Jimmy, how are you, my friend?
I'm lovely. It's raining. As long as it's not snowing, anything can fall from the sky.
Well, something's fallen from the sky, and it's Jacques Rougeau, the icon. Thank you for joining the Howard Stern of Pro Wrestling, Jacques.
Hey, thank you for having me on your show, guys. It's nice to see you guys again.
It is certainly. So I want to open up with this. We were talking a little bit earlier. You seem to be even in better shape now at your age than you were back in your 30s. What's going on with you, brother?
It's amazing. You always look for inspiration in life, and so I booked myself in a Royal Rumble on May 30th in Gatineau, Quebec, and what a better way to have to get in shape, because I've always had a lot of self-esteem and pride about how I looked, and so knowing like 9 months ahead of time, so I've been getting on a crazy training pattern of working out twice a day. And I'm in shape now. I'm 242, 243, and but I was 280, 270. I'm sorry, 270, 268.9 about 3 months ago, and I lost something like 27 pounds in 3 months, and my girlfriend's feeding me so much good food, and we're working out twice a day, and I feel so great about myself because the hardest part for me was like to lose my stomach and keep my muscle mass. So that was the hardest thing for me to do. So on this crazy diet, and it's working out so good. I feel so good about myself. I'm in Florida. I spent the winter in Florida, so the weather was very appropriate to enjoy life, and I'm blessed. I'm really blessed to be in shape at 65 years old. I'm going to be 1 month early of 66 years old when I get in the Royal Rumble. But when I was thinking of getting in this Royal Rumble, I was looking for motivation, to look good again and to feel good. But it was also something, it's important to me to when I show up in front of the fans that I'm not just using my name to be a draw or something. I want to go in there. I want to do my flying elbows. I want to do my drop kick off the second rope. I want to do my stuff I used to do when I was like 25 years old. So I want all the crowd and all my friends to go like, holy shit, you're going to break your bones. You're going to break your bones. But so I want to leave a good impression, and I'm on the way for that. I still got 3 more months to train, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Jimmy, 65 years old, and he's going in the ring yet again. Unbelievable. I'm lost for words, dude.
I was going to say when we started the show that last week we talked about Tito Santana being target practice for somebody that we'll get to tonight, obviously. And I mentioned to you last week, Tito Santana has to be one of the 5 nicest people we've come across in this business. Well, guess
Yeah.
what? Here's another one in the top 5 right here. So I'm not surprised that he's not going to just bring his cattle prod, cash his check, and go home. I'm not surprised at all. Much props to you, Jacques.
Thank you so much. And it's I think there was a guy working in the gym last week. It was amazing. I put a post on my Facebook. Like, I'm public. You could go on my Facebook anytime. And I had this man that was training for a couple of days that I'd be looking at him, and he was all wrinkled up and everything, but he kept doing the whole machine, the whole routine. And I kept looking at him. I was saying, so out of curiosity, sometimes I get curious. I said, "Excuse me, sir, could you tell me how old you are?" He says, "I'm 87 years old." And 87 years old, and he's doing all the machines. And I swear to God, I looked at him, and when he said that, I went like, "Oh no, I got another 20 years to go." because it's not easy to do what we're doing now at our age. When I remember when I was young, I used to run to the gym. Now I run out of the gym. At 65. But I was so impressed by that sir that was there at 87 years old. He inspired me so much.
Jacques, let me ask you this. Being that you're 65, right? Jimmy and I are right behind you, right? We're 58. I'm going to be 59 in a couple of months. How do you handle your mortality, right? I mean, we're at that age. Like, it's coming around, and it's like, how do you deal with that we're on the backside? Like, what
Well,
are your
you know what?
thoughts?
Well, I got a lot of thoughts on that. First of all, my heart goes out to Hulk. Who thought we would have lost Hulk? Like, I was friends with him. I was at his karaoke's the last few years. I was doing events with him, and that hit me hard. And then on the other hand, I look at Jimmy Hart, who's like, you can't kill him. Jimmy Hart is like, he looks like he looks like he's 60 years old, and I think he's 80 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's the
I think
hair
he's
dye,
80.
Jacques. It's the hair dye. He dyes his
Yeah,
hair.
no, but I mean, he's in the plane every day. He's going from
No, I
east to
get it.
west coast. He's still on the
Yeah,
run. He was with
never
Jerry Lawler
stops.
a couple of days ago when I spoke with him. I had this thing. It's funny because, like I said, I'm so much in great shape now, eating so well that I've changed my perspective on life in the last year or so. Because, as you guys know, 3 years ago, my wife had breast cancer, and we went through hell. I'm saying I'm so selfish. I mean, she went through hell, but it was such a hard time, like 16 months of chemotherapy, radiotherapy, operation, and somewhere in there, I lost myself. I stayed by her side, and I ate my emotions with chips and chocolates, and I put that weight on, and I kind of lost my self-esteem, if you'd like. But so I kept telling her in the last few years, telling my girlfriend, like, honey, I'm 65. I just want to make it to 75. If I make it to 75, I'll be happy. I really will be happy. If I could have 10 years of good life now, like I'm having, I'm a snowbird now. I go down south in the winter, and I card in the summer to make my money to be able to go down. But now, since the last 6 months, I've been training so hard and feeling so good about myself, and seeing that young man the other day of 87 years old,
Right.
it kind of put a different perspective on my life. It was like, hey, if you eat healthy and you work out, and you don't have to go to the extreme, but just keep moving every day and just making your heart beat, and I bring my heartbeat up on the life cycle quite a bit. I bring it up to 160 beats a minute, and so a second, I mean 160. So it's like uh, I'm actually aggravating my heart a bit, and I sweat a lot. I have a pile of water underneath me when I finish my 30 minutes. Like, I'm almost call it Lake Rougeau. When I finished, I'm dripping from everywhere in my body. So I feel good. So now, my perspective, I must say, you're the first guy who asks me this question since I changed my mind. Maybe I can make it to 85. Maybe now, I feel like, if I stay like this, and I'm good for another 20 years.
I want to bring it back to Hogan, though. We knew we were Jimmy and I huge Hulk Hogan fans.
Oh, yeah.
I know you were very close with him. How did you feel about the mistreatment of him towards the end of his career?
You know, I'm not the kind of negative kind of guy who spreads out negative news, but I've been hurt quite a bit in the last year. People, like your title said, unleashing. People unleashing on Hulk, and but you know, I feel so horrible, and for me, I can't see how it could happen. How could someone cut down Hulk Hogan? Because from WrestleMania 3 with Andre the Giant at the Pontiac Silverdome, wrestling changed. The football players, the baseball players, the singers, the actors, they all joined in wrestling. He brought everybody from everywhere into wrestling. He created wrestling, and you know, I always say, if you have a beautiful house on the mountain, you better have a good foundation, because if you don't have a good foundation, your house is going to crumble. And Hulk Hogan is the foundation of professional wrestling today. And when I hear guys badmouth or say things bad about him, it just kills me. It kills me to death, because I have so much recognition, I have so much appreciation for that man, and everything he did for me personally. You know what? I was in the dressing room, and even at my younger age, when I joined the WWF, and all the years that I spent and became his friend up till now, a couple of years ago. It's so funny, because I'd go into a shop in Orlando or in Clearwater, and his t-shirt shops and all those places, and Hogan's Hangouts, he was calling, and I'd go to his karaoke, and still then, after knowing him for like 30 years, the minute I came beside him, I was nervous. I was
Wow.
I was intimidated in a good way. I could never be his buddy. He always treated me like I was his friend. And you could talk to Jimmy Hart; he'll vouch for that. Jimmy always tells me every time he meets me, he says, "Hulk loved you so much, Jacques. You're such a stand-up guy." He says he loves you so much, and but I could never see myself on the same level with him. He was. I looked up to him so much all my life. It was like, so when I get around him, I'd always choose my words. I'd always careful how I behaved, you know. And he was that kind of man. He had that I'm going to say power over me. I don't know how to say it, but that influence over me. Yeah.
Jacques, do you think that there's some sort of disconnect with the younger generations of wrestling fans? They don't seem to, they lump it all together. Like, if you want to be upset with Terry Bollea over things that were said, whether knowingly or unknowingly, that's one thing. But to take down his entire career, it seems like the generations that were raised on the internet are a lot more mechanical about things and don't seem to understand all the contributions, or how about all the careers that Hulk Hogan launched. Instead, you hear about, well, he held this one back or that one back. Am I crazy enough to believe that Hulk Hogan enriched and launched way more careers than he allegedly held back?
Let me put it to you this way, my friend. I, first guy here speaking, we all have skeletons in our cupboard, in our closets. We all have skeletons. If you knew everything about me, holy mackerel, you wouldn't be speaking with me today. You know, if you
I
knew
gotta
all the
go.
bad things.
See ya.
But I think, but I think everybody has skeletons.
Yeah,
Everybody makes
you gotta
mistakes.
go.
Everybody says things they don't want to. Everybody regrets things they did. But when you're such an icon like him, it just has more weight. So it like
Right.
carries more. But I'm my father used to tell me this, and it took me a long time to understand it. I was very outgoing and obnoxious when I was young, like a little bit like Shawn Michaels, and I thought I had it. I thought I was good. I thought, and my father one time he sat down with me and he said, "You're only as good as your surroundings. Like you're only as good as the people. You can't make it on your own. Like people got to lift you up." And what I'm trying to say here is, I'm getting away from what my thoughts was. Nobody's perfect, and I'm trying to get back the thought that I wanted to tell you. Okay, bring back the question again.
Well,
It's going to come back. I'm an old
I
man.
still believe at the end of the day that Hulk Hogan enriched and launched a lot more careers than he supposedly held back.
He's that for sure. Look at my career. Look at what he did for me. He came to Montreal and he put me over. in front of 20,000 people when he was NWO at his hottest. I owe him my life. But all that to say, since I've lost my thought here, I'm just going to go ahead and finish off with Hulk by saying, like, if you got to know Hulk, if you had a chance to be with him, he was such a great man and such a great person. And I think that the social medias today are really the big enemies in life of everybody. And I try to tell people this, that hey, watch out, because we all could be a victim. Like, one day you're a nice guy and the next day you're a jerk. And but social medias for me is something that's I'm on Facebook every day. If you go on my Facebook, I'll tell you my dive I took in the pool. I'll tell you my workout, how much I weigh. I'll tell you, my life on Facebook. But I never talk negative about nothing. That's what my father told me. Yes, I'm going back to the story now. I just got it. My father with Shawn Michaels, like I was saying, how I was obnoxious and all that. My father sat me down one day and he told me, he says, "You know what, son?" He says, "If you don't have anything good to say, don't say nothing." But it took me a long time to understand it. But now in I'd say the last 20 years, I really put it to work. And it's so much better. Life is so much better. So that's why when people start talking negative about people, I kind of turn the page. It's like, because like I said at the beginning of this conversation, we all have skeletons in our closets. We all do. So if you have a house, what's that expression? If you have a house of glass, don't throw rocks.
Yeah, don't throw rocks at a house of glass. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Jacques, we opened up the show when Jimmy and I were talking, and we truly mean this. You are one of the nicest guys we've ever met, and I've seen you treat so many podcasters and wrestling fans with such respect. I got to tell you, and I'm going to ask you to tell a story. I guess you were at a signing event, and then you finally got to meet the Dynamite Kid's daughter, right? Dynamite Doll. And
holy mackerel!
I want to when I thought to myself, oh my God, I feel so bad for Jacques right now. Like, how is he going to handle this whole situation? Can you tell the story?
It was amazing. I was at a Comic-Con, and if I'm gonna shoot straight, I'm gonna shoot straight with you guys, okay? I'm sitting there, and one of the good things, I always have fun with the fans when they come. I put them in context. I make them be afraid of my stick. I take pictures. I put them like they were wrestlers, and I have fun with them. But it's always nice to see the people that are easy on the eyes go by. Like, if you see beautiful people go by, it's nice. So she's in front of me, like she's at a table a little bit further. I haven't watched wrestling in 30 years. I have not watched one wrestling show in 30 years. Not one. I don't know the talent. I don't know anybody. Most of the time when talent come to see me, "Hey, Mr. Rougeau, can I have a picture with you?" I say, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And then it's okay. Thank you. Goodbye. And then the guy says, "Wow, that's cool that he came to see us." I said, "Who's he?" And then the guy looks at me like I'm a Martian. Like, you don't know this guy? Like, you don't know this guy. And I'm going, "No, I'm sorry. I apologize." Then I have to explain every time. I had a falling out with Vince. I haven't watched wrestling, and it's the same thing. So anyway, long story short, she's at a table not too far. So I think she's very pretty. So I'm looking at it, and then she looks at me at one time, and out of nowhere, and she looks at me and she goes like this. She goes like, I said, going like, "Sure," like, "You want a picture with me? Sure, come on in. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right." Anyway, so she comes up. So she comes up to my table, and I take the picture with her. So I take the picture with her. Nice smile, everything. I enjoyed the company for a second, and then I turn around, and then she's standing there, and then she looks at me and she says, she taps me on the shoulder. She says, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "Yep, that's me." Like, the Mountie. Like, "Do you know who I am?"
Right.
And I thought she was playing my gimmick. Like, "Do you know who I am?" And I look at her, and I go, I say, "Yeah, that's me." She says, "No." She says, I'm Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington's daughter." When she said that, now listen, guys, I'm going to tell you what. I felt all kinds of emotion in my life, but that one was a first. I put my hands in front of my face, Was I embarrassed? Was I ashamed? I don't know how I felt. I just felt I couldn't believe it. And I was embarrassed. I didn't know what to say. I don't know. And for like 30 seconds, my hands was not coming out of my face, like, you know. And then she looked at me and she says, "It's okay, Jacques, I forgive you." And then I looked at her and I said to myself, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. I'm sorry that I didn't know you. I apologize, and you know, and then she says, "It's okay, it's okay." She says, "Listen, could you do me a favor?" I said, "Yeah, for sure." She said, "Dynamite's. I'm trying to get him in the Hall of Fame." I said, "Would you mind signing the petition to get my dad in the Hall of Fame?" I said, "Sure." I said, "Sure, I'll do it." And I said, "I'll do it because of what he was in the ring." You know, he was such great talent. I remember when Raymond and I got to WWF, it was like, holy shit, we'd never be as good as them. I was telling Raymond, we'll never be as good as them. And they, you know, and it was just absolutely amazing. And then we got in the Madison Square Gardens and had a 20-minute Broadway match with them on a SummerSlam night. You know, that Vince didn't want any winners, all four of us. And but I told her, I said, I was thinking he was such an amazing, and she saw the respect I had for him as a wrestler. And so I said, sure, I'll sign it. And then so I signed the thing. She had me send something. I signed it. I don't know how I did it there. I can't remember. I was so lost how I felt, but I did it. I filled it in, and then she said, "Can I ask you a last favor?" I said, "Sure." She says, "Can I have you on my podcast?" And I looked at her and I said, "That's when I started becoming myself. I started getting control of my emotions." And then I told her, I said, "Listen," I said, I'll do your podcast, but at one condition. You gotta let me tell the truth. You gotta listen to the truth. That's all I'm asking." And she says, "Done deal." So we're doing this Sunday coming up. This Sunday we're recording it. This Sunday we're recording it, and Monday we're going live. And so I'm so I don't know how to say it in English. Fébrile in French. Like I'm so fébrile. It's like how can I say that? Fébrile in English. You know, I'm not weak. I'm not scared. I'm not. My emotions are like at the skin here. Like, you know, I'm going into this. I'm going into this, and I'm going into a tunnel now, and I don't know how this is going to come out, but I don't know, and I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to tell the exact things of what happened and why it happened, but I'm also going to tell her the respect I have for him as a wrestler. You know, I want her to know that, and she knows it because I signed the Hall of Fame thing. But I want her fans to know that. I want everybody to know that when we first met them before we had this altercation, for me they were gods of wrestling. They were so innovation, like they were it, and you know, so anyway, I'm looking forward to go on the podcast, but I'm going to share so much emotions, and I hope that she's ready to accept what I have to say, because there's been so many wrong versions said about that. There's some things that were lies that I saw in podcasts, and I'm saying, how could people go on social medias and say that? Then I was in there. I was the one who got beat up first. I was the one who got beat up from behind. I was the one who suffered emotionally so much. For I wanted to quit the business for 3-4 days. I didn't even speak to my brother Raymond in the car, and for 3-4 days I was like numb, and it took me everything to overcome this situation. And for 25 years after that, I went to give conferences in schools everywhere, like, you know, 500, 600, 700 people about bullying, how to beat bullying without using violence, and everybody was telling me, "Oh, Jacques, you're so nice. How much does it cost?" I say, "For nothing. I'm doing it for nothing." And they'd say, "Really?" And so they call another school. But I never used the violence in it. But every time, like I said, people were saying that I was nice to do that, but they didn't understand. I wasn't nice. I wasn't doing it because I was a nice guy. I was doing it because it was therapy for me. Like, well, every time I finished everything,
Can I quickly interrupt you? One thing you did share, just which I found very telling. It's not the fact that he physically attacked you. It's the emotional damage and the embarrassment he put you in front of the boys. Is that correct?
I lost my self-esteem. I became McFly, like in Back to the Future. I could look at myself in the mirror. The Rougeau name was tarnished. The legacy, and Raymond by himself, he couldn't have done nothing because he was with me tag team. If I went home, Raymond went home. And could you imagine leaving the Rougeau name like that for the rest of our lives with this story that I get beat up and I put my head between my tail and between my legs and I run. And the worst part in that was that my dad is a really tough guy. My dad, 6'4", Golden Gloves champion, doorman at a nightclub when he was young. Raymond, the same thing. He's a killer, my brother Raymond. Nobody knows that, but he's a killer. Me, it went down my mother's leg. I don't know what happened, but it's just I'm an entertainer. I'm an artiste. I'm a comedian. You know, I play the role of a tough guy in my whole career, but I'm not. Every time there's animosity or things like that, I always kind of turn my cheek away. I always like to talk myself out of a fight. You know, that was me. I was like that. What can I say? So for me to get demolished like that, it was such an embarrassment. But because my biggest hero was my dad, like most of everybody, like you probably, and you, Pharaoh, everybody, our dad is our heroes in life, and you don't want to disappoint them. And so the image and the name Rougeau was so important in the world, and especially in my province, that I didn't want the story to go on like Jacques took his tail between his legs and he got beat up and he left. So it was the biggest thing that I had to face in my life. Nothing compares to my life that I had to come over to go through it, like, you know, to make it happen, like to confront my fears and to do something about something. You have no idea the sleepless 7 nights I had before I decided to do this, that I didn't sleep. I lost 15 pounds in a week. Every time I'd eat, I'd throw up because I'd puke, because I'd say, what? I kept telling myself when I was alone, sometimes I even cried, and I was saying, like, what if I miss? What if I miss? You know, I'm not a fighter. What if I
Jacques,
miss?
it sounds to me like that moment was one of the most major, if not the most major, what I would call the crossroad of your life. You hit a crossroad. You got stronger from that. That's the end of to me, that's what I take out of that. It was a horrible thing, but you definitely became stronger from it. No?
You know what, Pharaoh? I think you're right. But you know what? If that was a tool for someone to get stronger in life, I still wouldn't want it to happen to
Yeah,
them.
no thanks.
Because
Agreed. But
because
something
you have
good,
no
oddly
idea.
enough, something really good came out of it. Look who you are and look what you became.
Yeah.
You got to go with something
Yeah.
good, right?
Yeah. But thanks. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to Sunday when we record this podcast, me and her, and I can't wait. I'm always worried. Like every time I do an interview, like even with you guys now live, you know, I'm always worried that I choose my words. I think my mom used to say, "Turn your tongue 7 times before you talk," because I never did that. And then so I try.
Well, I'm gonna give you time to think this out. Turn your tongue 7 times. I'll just open it up right here. Jimmy and I are not fans of Devin Nicholson, Hannibal, for many different reasons. Again, doesn't matter. But we thank you for coming on the show, because one of the things is most recently Hannibal, Devin Nicholson, has now targeted you. For what reason, I don't know. You didn't put him on your wrestling show. It could be a million things. But the things that he was saying about you, in my world, was unacceptable. And from us knowing you and what a great guy you are, it's troublesome to me and Jimmy. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond in any which way you want. It's all you, Jacques.
Like I said, I don't like negative about anybody. But I do want to say something. I do want to put everybody in context a little bit, just a little bit. 3 days ago, Devin called me, and we were friends. We've been friends for like 20 some years, 30 years. We've been friends, and I don't mean friends hanging around or hanging out, but respect each other. He helped me with my family organization. He did podcasts for me on YouTube. He gave me exposure for things. On the other hand, when he had problems, unstable things that happened in his life, then I'd call him. In some very bad situations, I called him. When a lot of people put an X on him, I called him. And then so I think that meant a lot to me. That meant a lot. Is you always reach out to someone when they're hurt, and to try to give them support. So 3 days ago, or maybe 4 days ago, Devin calls me out of nowhere, and he asks me to do a show in Cornwall for him. And he says, I'm living in Kansas City, I think. I can't remember if it's Kansas City. He says, I'm living in Kansas City now, but he says, I'm doing a show in Cornwall, which is an hour and a half from my home. So he says, would you mind being the referee? Because I'm going to wrestle Rob Van Dam. So I told him, I said, well, to be honest with you, Devin, I said, for the last 25 years, I've been doing family-orientated shows. Like, my image is like, I don't go where there's blood or there's tables or there's chairs or there's thumbtacks on the ring. I don't do that kind of stuff. I have this thing with kids where I got Spider-Man, the Mummy, I got the Giant, the Midget, it's a family-orientated show I've been doing for 25 years. So I said, I don't want to relate myself. And Devin, that you bleed all the time, and you use chairs and tables. So I'm not going to do your show. But if you want, before the show starts, I'll do a meet and greet for you. I'll do it for $2,500. Usually that's what I charge in US. It's $2,500, when I go for somewhere with airfare and stuff. But I said, I'll do it for you for 2,500 Canadian, which is 30% less. And I said, because I thought I'd like that, Devin. So he said, okay. He says, so the last thing he told me was, I'll talk to my partners. And he says, I'll get back to you tomorrow. And the next thing you know, 2 days ago, I'm getting videos and emails from, and the only message I got from Devin was, which I didn't understand. He says, you know what? He says, in my matches that I have, I only bleed about 50 times out of 100. And he says, and your sons and you, he says, I could beat you up anytime in an amateur match. So, and then he says, you're just a mother, and I'm not going to say the last word. And that's what he called me on the message. And I went like, I'm waiting for a yes for my meet and greet, and I get that message. So I didn't answer back. I just thought, well, maybe maybe he got drunk, or maybe he something happened that he lost his mind or something. I don't know what happened. I have no answers for that, because I'm still talking to him like I still, but anyway. So all this to say that, and then the same day, my partners from GPW and a couple of people start writing me from everywhere. Jacques, you should see what Devin's doing to you. And he says, hey, I got a podcast. Come on my podcast and let's unleash on him. and I told everybody the same thing, guys. Ignorance hurts more. I'm just not going to reply. There's nothing for me to say. Put more gas you put on the fire, the more the fire is going to get bigger, and people are going to believe what they want to believe. So the truth is what I just told, word for word. So if anybody that knows me personally knows I'm saying the truth. So it's like, where did it come from? I don't know. Is it a publicity stunt? I even had people call me up and say, wow, Jacques, that's awesome. I guess Devin's going to be in Harry Smith's corner, for the show in GPW, because the British Bulldog son is going to be there again in the Royal Rumble with me. So they thought it was part of the angle. And I'm going like, no, he better not be there, or I'm going to run. but because he's a tough guy. Devin's a real tough guy. And, so I'll let this say. So that's what happened. So where it came from, why he did it, I have no answers, because I never spoke to him again after that. But I'm out of all this, I'm more sad than hurt, because most of the people who called me were pulling for me. They were sticking up for me, and I was saying to myself, Devin, why did you do that? It's not good for you. If you think it's good for you, it's not good for you. Not on the long run, anyway. It's not good. And because we've been friends for 30 years. So it's like, where did this come from? Why did he do it? Did he want to get hits online? Did he want it to get? I obviously it worked because you guys didn't want it to talk about it, so everybody wanted to talk about it. So he did the right thing for his YouTube channel, but I don't sell friendship short like that. And when he was really down and out, and guys, I'm telling you, down and out, I was there for him. And when nobody was there for him, I was there for him. So that's where I got hurt the most, is because, like I said, we weren't the best of buddies. Not true. We weren't the best of, but there's this kind of respect when you have a friendship like that you don't see people. My Uncle Johnny, he was a smart man too. He was a wrestler and a smart man. And he used to always tell me, Jacques, in this business, keep your enemies close, and your friends, you could let them far away because you don't have to worry about. But your enemies, keep them close so you know how they think. My Uncle John used to tell me that, and I didn't understand it quite, And I always considered Devin as a friend, so I didn't need him. But if he called me for something, if I could do it, I could do it. Now I couldn't do it because of the image of the show, and even at one point that really blew my mind. It was like, because I tried RVD to come to our show in Gatineau, and I called him up, and he gave me a price, and I said, "Holy shit, no, that's too much for me." Like, holy shit, forget about that. And so I asked. So when I talked to Devin, because we often do that between promoters, we ask him, "Hey, can you get a guy? And how much did you charge? How much did you get?" So I asked Devin that. How much did RVD cost for you? And then he says, "Oh, well, that's something that I can't tell you, Jacques. I promised I wouldn't speak." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I respect that." But the next thing you know, our conversation we had, he put it on YouTube. Like, the conversation we had, me and him alone, like, on the phone. It's a good thing I don't talk bad about anybody, or I didn't crucify anybody, because, like, I could have made a mistake. I can imagine if I would have said something politically wrong or physically wrong about
Well,
someone.
I got to be honest. I got to be honest with you, Jacques. I think it's illegal to play a recorded phone call that you don't know that you're being recorded on. You know what I mean? I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, I was
I don't think.
surprised. I was surprised. I was very surprised, and so the truth is I feel more sad for Devin, that he's in that state of mind right now. I know, because in his heart he must have some regrets, and if he doesn't have regrets, that means that he wasn't the guy that I thought he was all these years. Like, he wasn't my friend, which I thought he was. He was always so nice to me. Devin was always so nice to me and always helped me so much. So where is he now? Where you know what I'm saying? It puts me in a kind of a position where I'm wondering, like.
Listen, let me ask you this. If Devin called you up and said, "Hey, you know what? I was angry. I want you to do my show. You hurt my feelings. Forgive me." Would you forgive him?
You know what? I got my girlfriend in the back. She's going like, "No."
No coaching back there.
My girlfriend's going, "No." My first thought is like, I probably would, because you know what? On the long run, as if we became friends again, and if we start talking again, he's the one that's going to look bad.
Right,
he's the one that's going to look bad, because if I turn around and he stabs me in the back with a knife, and then he starts talking to me like I'm his friend after, like, or then he's going to look really bad. Then no one's going to trust him in life anymore. But my heart speaks. If I speak with my heart, he'd done a lot of good things for me. He did a lot of podcasts, a lot of things for me, and I don't forget people who helped me. People that it has to be something really bad. Oh, maybe this, but anyway, it has to be something really bad for me not to give him a chance to explain. If he'd call me up and he'd say, "Jacques, I got drunk," or "Jacques, I whatever." I don't want to say anything that incriminates me, but if his mental wasn't in the right place, and he apologized for it, I'll say, "Okay, Devin." But however, one thing I would do is I'd watch what I speak with him when I'm on the phone from now on.
Let's make sure that you know that, right? So,
Hey,
so
Mike,
just go ahead, Jimmy.
I was thinking this whole time, as he's, Jacques has always been very optimistic, much more than most people I've ever come across, which is why he's in our top 5 all-time favorite folks we've come across. I don't know if Jacques aware, but Hannibal wants to beat me and Mike up. Okay, he's already threatened
Really?
violence on us. Now, here's the thing that bothers me about all of this. He's got this pattern.
Wait a minute,
No,
Jimmy, I
no,
just got to
no.
interrupt. Who threatens people at 58 years old? It doesn't even make sense. I'm going to beat you up, but whatever. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So he throw his pattern, at least recently. I don't know how long. I'm not as obsessed or pay attention to him as much as a lot of folks seem to do. But his pattern lately has been to take a big, I'll keep it clean for you, Jacques. He takes a big pile of poopy and he throws it against the wall, against someone of notoriety, whether it's Ric Flair recently or last time it was Tito Santana. We're picking on Tito Santana. So he decides this week it's you. And then he wants to inflict bodily harm on me and Mike because we cover his shenanigans. Someone needs to explain the
Guys,
rational side. That's why you're here tonight.
guys, let me just say something on that, and let's turn to another subject. But
Okay. Okay.
but guys, you're bigger than that. And you know, I
We
think
are.
that I think the time that you waste even trying to figure things out like that, it's wasted time. So
Uh,
to be honest with you, you know, I don't want to hear bad about Devin. I don't want to speak bad about Devin. I just wanted to explain the things that happened, and then let the people make their own judgment. But one thing for sure is this was a total surprise to me, and I had many people who told me just what you just said too. So it's like I don't think we need to go on further with that. I think, you know, history will speak for itself. But I'm saddened from this. I'm saddened in a way. And the other way, I got to tell you guys, it's pretty cool because everybody's talking about me now. So it's like
there you
it's like,
go.
hey,
And
I'm the talk of the town right now. So it's like,
and Jacques, remember something. It's pro wrestling. Eventually, some things do get forgiven if the money's right, right? So that you know what I'm saying.
you know what? I don't know, Monty, because I got to tell you, my back's been turned to third for 30 years with Vince McMahon, and then and I don't think there's any prize that would make me change my mind and my thought. I'm a very you know what? I'll explain it to you in 2 words. I think you'll understand. This is my way of explaining things. You have normal people here, and you have autistic people that are here. I should be somewhere around here, you know. Like, so the normal and the autistic are there, and I should be somewhere around here. Like, I'm there, but not all there. And it's like, but if you ever dealt with autistic people, which I did all my life, you're gonna find that they're the most sincere people in the world. If they like you, they like you. If they don't like you, you'll know it right away. And so I'm transparent. I've always been, and then that was my problem in my life. I never learned how to be diplomat. My brother Raymond, he's the smartest one of them all, man. He's a mayor today. But he was so smart because he knew how to speak with people. He knew when to speak, and he opposite of me. Me, it was like blah 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 blah. Whatever comes through my mind, I say it. You know, but it was authenticity. You know how I feel. You know how I think. Some people are more into politics, into diplomacy, which I never. I always respected, but I never respected because I always said, why don't people just speak their mind? Like, you know, if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't go, it doesn't go. But life doesn't go like that. So I'm the one that's wrong about being like that. But however, the people that know me, they love me to death because they know that if they ask me a question, they're going to get the answer, even if I look bad or even if I did wrong, or they'll get it, and they'll get an apology after, or they'll get something. But I'm transparent. I've been all my life, and I'm never going to change that. And I think that's my best, my biggest downfall, but my best quality at the same time.
Well,
How have you been able to subdivide like this? I'm amazed at this because you've remained the Mountie. You've made appearances over the years. It was an eternal character. We love it. I mean, you beat Bret Hart. I can't stand Bret Hart. Sorry, but uh, how have you been able to continue to be involved in the wrestling business but not watch any wrestling at all? How is that?
Uh, I had my company, I had my ideas, I had my passion, I think the word is passion. Like when I was giving conferences for 25 years in schools, I always told the kids, hey, whatever you want to do in life, do it. And a lot of kids will say, yeah, but I tried. Well, try again. Because if you fail the first time, go back the second time. If you fail the second year, go back the third year. But if you'll finally, if it's your passion, it's going to happen, even if it takes 3 years or 4 years. But let me tell you something. If you go and work at a job that you punch your card from 9 in the morning till 5 at night for 40 years and you don't like what you're doing, life is going to be long, So live
Right
your
here,
passion.
Jacques. Right here, brother. Right here. I'm that guy right there.
So live your passion. And that's how I'm still in wrestling. I'm still doing so many things in wrestling and having so much fun. And by the way, just in case you guys get tired of hearing me, I want to do a plug if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I have since this thing happened with Devin. I know it's funny. But this company, Strategy First, in Quebec, in Canada, they're actually all over because it's a gamers. I've never been a gamer in my life. My girlfriend games, but I don't. It's online video games. My girlfriend wrote down online video games, and I don't play those things. But Strategy First just gave me a gift. There's 5,000 people that could attend this match on May 30th, where I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble. And they just gave me those online video games, 5,000 of them, for everybody to get a game who buys a ticket to come to the show.
Wow.
And isn't that amazing? And I mean, isn't
Incredible.
that amazing? That's so
nice.
So Emmanuel Wall, you're my hero. You just gave incentive to a lot of people to come. Even if they don't like me, they'll come for the game.
Hey, so Jacques, that just proves if you're a good person, good things will happen to you. I got a couple more things to talk to you about, but just like the way it works, we have a fan that's asking a question. He says, "What was the worst fight you saw that didn't involve you?" And that's from Hobo Raider.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to disappoint you because the worst fight I saw was not in wrestling. It was on Tampa. It was like I was wrestling in Tampa in the younger years. I was like I was 18 years old, so it must have been in 78, 79, and I was walking on that street, Dale Mabry Street in Tampa, and where we were staying, the wrestlers, and I didn't go out in bars. I never went out in nightclubs. It wasn't my style, but I was bored to death in my hotel room, and I was walking the street, and out of nowhere, right in front of me, like 2 doors opened like cowboy doors, like, they opened like that, and a guy went flying on his, and there was a guy on top, like, and he wasn't stopping. And I was shocked because I'm not a fighter. So I was like, holy shit, this has got to stop, and then finally somebody pulled him off, but the guy was unconscious. But that was the most scariest thing that I've seen in my life, like the worst fight, because I was punching him and his head was banging the cement, and it was like, and there I was staring, doing nothing, like I was on shock. Like I wasn't on shock, I was on shock. And yeah, that was my worst fight. Apart from that, I heard stories. I heard the Paul Orndorff story with Vader, when Vader was giving him a hard time in the dressing room, and Paul Orndorff just knocked him out. I heard stories, different stories, but never witnessed one in front of me, to be honest with you.
We've got 2 biggest tragedies in professional wrestling in regards to the Hall of Fame. One, the Mountie not being in the Hall of Fame, one of the greatest intercontinental champions ever, and I mean that. That character, even though short-lived with that belt, it was a big deal. And then most recently, I want you to weigh in on this, the WWE is finally putting in Demolition into their Hall of Fame. Thoughts on Demolition making the Hall of Fame and you working with Bill Eadie and Smash, whatever. I'm old, I forgot his name.
I had so much jealousy in the last years. All of the talent were great and everything. I'd wondered why the fabulous Rougeau brothers, I'd wondered why the Mountie didn't make it in the Hall of Fame, because all the guys that I worked with for years, for months, they're all in there. And it's like it takes 2 to dance. Like, it takes 4 to make a tag team match. It's not only 2 guys that go over, it's 2 guys that make them look good. And, so I had a bad taste in my mouth. And when I saw that Demolition was put in, I was just so happy for them. Bill Eadie, Barry, friends of mine, but Bill Eadie, I wrestled him like 35 years ago in the little shows in Montreal, and then what a great talent, what a great mass superstar he was called, and what a great talent, and and what a great talker, what a great psychology, and then there was, why did you put Donald Trump there beside me? Are you trying to get heat back on me? Okay,
It just,
so,
I just turned my head. I was like, what did I just say?
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I like the sheep. I can't believe you, jabroni.
We're having a great show, Jacques. We're having a great show.
I knew it would get him. I knew that would get you, Jacques.
Hey,
It's the greatest of the great.
You,
Poor Jacques.
I have so much fun these days. I have so much fun watching the reels go by that people imitate Donald Trump.
We're making the Mountie great again.
He's such a character. He's such a character. Like, Donald Trump is such a character. But let's not get into
WWE
politics,
Hall of
please,
Famer.
I know, but he deserves it. But anyway, I'll listen.
Wow.
But all this to say,
There he is.
to be honest with you, let's be serious for 2 minutes. The Mountie should be in there just because of the jailhouse match we did. The big boss man, because there's not one Comic-Con that I don't have thousands of people 30 years later that come up to me and are singing my song, I'm the Mountie, and they call me Jailbird, or they still remember, and they come to my face and tell me that match I remember so much. It was like, so that whole build-up was Vince was a genius when he put that together. Then the other thing is, when the Rougeau brothers became the fabulous Rougeau brothers, a lot of people don't know this. But I got to share this with you. I was so disappointed, not only because Raymond was 17 years the voice, a French voice in Europe and Quebec as a commentator, but everything Raymond's done, the Rougeau family has done in their career, we're 75 years of wrestling in the family, 4 generations of wrestling. But Raymond and I, anybody who knows this that are listening, they're going to say, you're right, Jacques, I forgot that. But on the cards, when we were on the cards, because there was the A team, the B team, and the C team in those days. There was 3 crews going around the world every night, 3 crews. And everybody wanted to be on the A team. And, because Hulk was on the A team. And when Hulk was on the A team, we knew we were going to get money. I remember being in the dressing room when we get our booking sheets 3 weeks ahead of time. We'd look, okay, I'm on the A team, on this down B team. And finally, when we found out we're on the A team, we were so happy. But the thing was, what people don't know, is Hulk many, many times had to leave early from the show. So they'd put him on 4th before the intermission. They'd put his match. And guess who they'd put on last? The Rougeaus against the Rougeaus against the Rockers. The Rougeaus, and they used us so, and a guy was doing a podcast with me the other day, and he brought us something. He's writing a book that's going to come out in the spring. And he said, Jacques, he says, I don't think they realize the WWF, but from 85 to 91, I think, to 91, the Rougeau brothers and the Harts, and another guy that he mentioned, Martel, he says, you guys are the guys that wrestled the most in those 5 years for the WWF. Like, they used you the most on every show. You guys have more matches than anybody else in the show. So Vince needed us. He used us to create his business. And so when I look at that, the guy told me that, and he says, Jacques, he says, did you know? He says, I'm going to tell you something you probably don't even remember. And the truth is, I did not remember when he told me. But he says, one day in those years with your brother Raymond, you wrestled 3 times in one day. There was an early show, an afternoon show, and you took the plane and you did a night show. They used you 3 times in one day. And then I looked at him and I said, no, because I didn't remember. And I said, no. He says, yes. And then he showed me the 3 dates and everything. And then I start thinking, we were such zombies in those days, like 25 days a month on the road, and then we'd have 3 days at home off. Then we'd have to take off for another 25 days or 21 days, 25 days. It depends on the tour. That we were so jet lagged. We were so, like, I'm talking about going on tours for 20, 25 days and being in the airports 20 days a month. And then a couple of times we'd do shots like Philadelphia, New York, so we'd drive. Or we'd do San Francisco, San Diego, we'd drive, or Los Angeles. But most of the times it was 4 o'clock, get up at the airport, at the hotel, and 5:30 leave to the airport. Bring back your rent-a-car, get in line, get at the counter, get on a flight at 7:30, arrive at 12, 1 o'clock, go in the rent-a-car's line, get a new car, go find a gym, go find a hotel. We were in charge of everything. We had to pay everything too. And then go to the show that night, get out of the arena at 11, go eat at Domino's Pizza because it was the only thing left to eat open at that time of night, or Denny's. Go eat and then go back, get to sleep at 1 and get up at 5 in the morning. We'd do that like 25 days a month, and so I was very, I had a sour taste in my mouth all these years. And it just so happened when I saw Demolition go in the Hall of Fame, I had a relief. And I said to myself, finally, I love what I see. And then plus to that, I got to tell, there's a guy called Ben Veal. He has a podcast, and a huge podcast in Europe and the UK. And about 3 weeks ago, he inducted me and Raymond in the European Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
And when that happened, what a relief on our shoulders. Raymond was so happy. We did an interview with the guy and everything, and I saw in Raymond's face how much he felt appreciated, because that Hall of Fame from Ben Veal comes from the fans and from the people and the guy who does the podcast. It's not political. It's not to make money, or it's not to in good use for the company. So when that happened like 3 weeks ago, I don't have any more expectations. I know in my heart that I'm a Hall of Famer. I know that I've done everything I could. I was 11 years in the WWF and WWE. And every time I went to the ring, I gave 110% of myself. I always entertained one way or the other in whatever character I had, whether it was the Quebecers, the Mountie, or the fabulous Rougeau brothers. So I could look at myself in the mirror and say, "Hey, you're a non-known Hall of Famer."
Well, listen, it's not over yet, Jacques. Trust me. You know what?
Okay.
They're trying to clear it out.
I made my peace. I made my peace with it.
Let me ask you this. You brought up the Rockers, right? You have Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty.
Yeah.
You know both, right? And Marty's a friend of the show. Marty, great guy.
I love him.
Where did it go wrong for Marty? And how did Shawn end up being the golden child? And where did it go wrong for Marty?
Depends if you want to go on this the accusations I've heard lately about Shawn, but to be honest with you,
that's true. I forgot about that.
But I'm just going to say that Marty, I think what went wrong, is their gimmick. Their gimmick was they were party guys. They were guys who liked to party. So, but what happens is when you do partying for 25 days a month, you get caught up in the partying mood. And I think that maybe one thing led to another, where some parties overboard, or he got caught up in a world that was maybe not so healthy, so I think that alcohol and things like that got to Marty eventually. That's what I think, because his heart in the ring was amazing. His work in the ring was amazing. His friendship with me outside the ring was amazing. I see him in Comic-Cons today, and we get, I call him once in a while. He calls me like every 4 months, and he calls me and he it's like Coco Beware. He calls me every 3-4 months, 5 months. We talk to each other like, "Hey, Shari," he has that one word in French he knows not to say, or that's Coco Beware. He says "Shari, Shari," or then you have Marty Jannetty who made me laugh so much. Every time we'd be in public, he'd always come up to me and he'd go, "Yuck." Like, instead of saying Jacques, he'd say like "Yuck," like like he's puking. He'd call me Yuck, and it stuck with me, And every time he sees me now, up to 30 years later, every time he sees me, Yuck, and then he's got that face like he's gonna puke. And I keep telling him every time, "Would you please stop calling me Yuck? My name is Jacques." But there's love between me and him, because we did things that no one else has ever done. We did marathon matches, 1-hour matches. Like we did 1-hour matches where the one wins the most fall wins the match. We went into the Gardens, Madison Square Gardens, did a 1-hour match, and we played a joke on Vince. we went overtime. At the end of an hour, it was 6-6 to Falls. And Vince was pulling his hair out because we played a rib on him. He didn't know. So I took the microphone and I said, "You think we're going to do a draw? I want overtime." And then we went like 10, 11 minutes overtime, and then we dropped the fall to them. And so it lasted like 71 minutes, our match. We did one, and we did one. That's not the best. The best one is we did one in London, and you know it's 6 hours different. So when it's 6 o'clock there, it's noon here. So it's like so we did one. It was 7 o'clock that night. No, it was an afternoon show. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We did one. We got on a flight at 3 o'clock, and we flew 6 hours, and we got in Philadelphia. It was 3 o'clock, and we did another hour match. We did 2 1-hour matches, 2 marathon matches in one day. To do that, you need experts like Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. You can't do that with guys that don't know how to work. You can't do that with people that could get the crowd up on their feet. We kept the crowd up on their feet for a full hour. You know, and just to talk about the entertainment, you know, I used to go in the ring in those matches, and 20,000 people, and I'll just give you an idea how we built it and how everything was built in those days. I'd start in the ring, let's say with Marty, and I'd go to lock up with Marty, just a whole lock up, and then I'd say, "Hey, wait a minute, push him back, I'm not ready." So then the referee would push him back, and then I'd get on my back. And I'd do a nip up. I'd land right on my feet from laying on my back in one shot. Boom. And then I'd look at him and I'd go like, and then I'd look at the crowd like, "Huh? How about that, huh?" And then I'd look at Marty and say, "Why don't you try it?" And then Marty would just look at the referee, "Come on, let's ref." I'd say, "Hey, wait. You try it." And we'd take about a minute, 2 minutes before finally he'd get on his back, he'd do a nip up without his hands. He'd do it better than me. I'd do it with my hands, but he'd do it without his hands, just a nip up with his feet. And then 20,000 people were like, "Yeah!" They were cheering. We didn't do nothing yet. And then so we turn around and we start going around and around. So then I'd go to lock up with them for the first time in the match. About 5 minutes is gone in the match. 6 minutes, I'd go to lock up with them. I'd say, wait a minute. Try this." And then I'd get out of the ring, I'd put my hands on the top rope, and I'd do a flip over the top rope and land on my feet. And I'd say, "Hey, try this, smarty pants." And then he'd look at the crowd, and the 20,000 people would say, "Do it, Marty, you can do it, Marty." So about another 5 minutes would go by, and then he'd do the flip after we worked the crowd. And then finally, Shawn Michaels would tell Marty, give me the tag. So Shawn Michaels would come in, and then he'd go to lock up with me. But when he'd go to lock up with me, he'd scoop underneath me. He'd keep going to the next turnbuckle on the other side, and he'd climb up on the top rope, facing the people on the top rope, and he'd look at me, he said, and then he'd do a full backflip in the air and land on his feet from the top rope. And then he'd look at me and he'd go like, "You do it." And I'd be like, and I'd look at Raymond, and Raymond would say, "No, don't do it. I said, I could do it. And then I'd say, "No, don't do it. And then finally, I'd finally, after about a minute, I'd start climbing up. The ropes were shaking. I'd get up on the top rope, and then finally I'd just get down like I can't do it, and people would boo my ass. People would boo me so bad, like, you know. And he was working the gimmick before that, like chicken. We'd go like 15 minutes. We never locked up yet. And we had 20,000 people on their feet, having fun, enjoying themselves. And those guys were workers. I'm going to tell you what, those guys were workers.
Well, Jacques, I want to be respectful of your time. We're going to hit you with the Pharaoh's final question. But before you get that, please promote, number one, your podcast coming up with Dynamite Doll, and then your wrestling show coming up, which we'll promote on our social media.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, next Monday, then, if you get some clips of the Dynamite Dolls podcast with me, that'll be fun. You'll see. I'm sure you'll get a few emotions in there. Thank you for that. And on May 30, if you're anywhere in the northeast of the United States or in the east part of Canada, come and see this huge show. It's Legends Mania. It's in the afternoon. We have a Comic-Con that we've organized, and we have Coco Beware, Jake the Snake. We got Greg Valentine. We got I got so many of them coming. The headbangers are there. There's a list that goes on. Hacksaw Jim Duggan with his 2x. A lot of people, everybody in my era that are my friends are coming to this Comic-Con in the afternoon on May 30th. And then that night, there's the big show, the best talent from Canada coming from all over. But the most important thing for me is the Royal Rumble. I'm going to be part of it. And now the funniest thing is Harry Smith, Davy Boy Smith's son, joined the Battle Royal. And he's doing a lot of marketing, blah, 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 like he wants to go ahead and he can't wait to face me. I think he's doing it to get some publicity because I like him to death. I was friends with his daddy when it all ended, because when he came back, Davy Boy, he was my friend. We worked as the Intercontinental Champion and had good. We buried the hatch, me and him. So, and I even have a picture with Harry when he's like 6 years old. But since the last 2-3 months, I think he's doing it just to work the gimmick there. Or I got the idea everything's going to be okay, but he's saying he can't wait to get in the ring with me. He said I have some scores to settle, and so it's going to be a great event in the Royal Rumble. There's going to be 20 people, and me and Harry are probably going to end up being face to face in the Royal Rumble. That's why I'm getting in shape like I am, not so I could beat him, but so I could run. but anyway, all that to say, it's going to be a great show, May 30th. If you could go on my website, JacquesRougeau.com, for tickets or any kind of information. And we're very proud. I've been working on that show for like 8 months now, and there's 3 months left. It's going to be, we know there's going to be 4,000 people. We're trying to bring it up to a sellout to 5,000 people, which for an indie is absolutely amazing in our days.
Well, it's also going to be historic on two fronts. It's got you returning to the ring and the history tied back to the days of the British Bulldog problem. So, to a fan, this is a delicious proposal. So that sounds like it's going to be really good.
I wish, if you guys weren't so far, I wish you'd come and see what we got. Some great talent.
Like they would
in Quebec.
let me over the border. Come on, Jacques.
I think so.
You think so? Oh, wow.
They would
All
let.
right.
Hey, and I remember in the younger days they used to let Willie Nelson come in, so I'm sure they'd let you come in.
Yeah. I can come in smoking. Oh, never mind. All right, let's get to my final question. You know, earlier you said that it'll never happen, but as we've just recently seen, and it's my all-time favorite tag team, Demolition is finally getting in. We know that there were legal suits and stuff. There were big problems between them and the company, but finally they're in. Is there any chance that the bridge can be crossed one day for the Mountie? Because as an old school fan, the day that you won that strap, as an old school fan, the titles really did mean something.
Yeah.
And the Mountie was a character that, to me, that was the final seal of the deal. As a fan, you won that belt, and it was a major thing. And we still talk about the character and the championship to this very day. You do deserve to be in any shot of crossing the bridge.
I you know what? To be honest with you, I would be flattered if they offered. I wouldn't want to go in by myself. I'd want the Rougeau name to be in there. I'd want my brother Raymond to come in because, like I said, we've done so much. And Raymond, 17 years, he was a French voice in Europe and all over in French Canada and Quebec. And I'd want to go in with my brother because we've had so much things together, and if they want to mention I was a Mountie, that's fine. But I would definitely go in. I would accept it with grace. I would accept it with grace. I would take it with grace.
I'm sorry, Jacques. Has that been the roadblock because you want and the Rougeau brothers should be in? Let's face it. But I mean, has that been the roadblock or no?
No. They just never asked me. They never asked me. I was at war with Vince, and obviously I was at war with Triple H because Triple H was in Vince's ear, and it went on and on. And so I have a lot of heat with some people in the office. I always spoke my mind. I never hid my thoughts. But if they are willing to put bygones behind, I think there were worse thing in the business than my relationship with Vince and them.
Of course.
I would definitely be honored to wear a WWF Hall of Fame ring. That's for sure.
Jacques, before we go, I just want to read one message and we're going to send us off. 4040 BRA says, Monte The Pharaoh, please read this. This is for Jacques. I showed my son the video of him telling the Dynamite Kid story. Said it was a great lesson for standing up for yourself. Well done, Jacques. Changing
Oh,
lives,
thank
my
you.
friend.
Thank you so much. But learn to do it without violence. You know, there's ways, and if ever you write to me in private, I'll help you. There's ways to do it without violence, and I'm a specialist now in how to beat bullying without using violence, and I think it could help you in life. But yes, the bottom line is you must stand up for yourself. The most important thing is if anybody is being bullied, the biggest lesson I've learned through all this run and all this story is like, make sure you tell someone. Tell your parents, tell the authorities, tell the school, because you know what? Most of the time, once you cross that bridge and you had the courage to expose your bully, things always finish by repairing themselves. But if you keep it inside, it becomes a dark cloud and you could go very, very far in a dark tunnel and never come out. So the most important thing is speak about it, let it come out, and things will work itself out.
Well done, Jacques. Thank you again, sir. Jimmy, you want to send us out?
Yes, sir. You've been watching Monte the Pharaoh with Jacques Rougeau of the fabulous Rougeau, Jacques and Raymond, and the Mountie. And until shortly, when we're back on the air again, later.
Couple things I want to cover, Jimmy.
Yeah.
500 level has now improved on the M&P code. Now go to MP30 for 30% off. Jimmy, I got to tell you something, right? I was at the beach, again, 500 level. If you guys haven't looked at the shirts, right, go to the website. It's incredible. And I got to be honest, right? So it was a little chilly today. I brought the dogs to the beach. I was off work for the Jewish holidays,
today.
right?
It's cold.
It wasn't cold,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I have from 500 level, I have a Roman Reigns sweatshirt. Now, usually sweatshirts are not always the nicest fabric, unless I'm into really nice fabric because I just don't like things up against my skin. So usually I'll get thinner type of shirts, but this is a heavy sweatshirt. The fabric, unbelievable. And you're going to get a deal at 30% off, Jimmy. I mean, my God, it's a no-brainer, guys. I am telling you, once you get one shirt from them, you'll get 50. I guarantee it. And they've got all the sports. Yeah, dude, tell me what you think of it, Jimmy.
They're so comfortable. I got to get a long sleeve now. I'm telling you, I got it. You know, because it was chilly today, especially for a guy who's been in Panama City Beach the last 2 years. It was chilly today, and I love the material. It's so silky. Is that the right word for it? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, dude.
It's so comfortable. So yeah, I got to get myself some leveled long sleeves. That's for sure. 30%.
And again, it doesn't. You know, they got plenty of wrestling stuff. They got baseball stuff. They've got football. They got everything, dude. MMA. They got it all, man. And I'm telling you, it's very high quality. Again, 500 level code MP30, 30% off. So if a T-shirt costs you $20, what's 30% off on $20, dude?
It's enough. 10 plus another 20% tacked on top. Not much.
And we're visiting Pharaoh's here after last night's Super ECW tribute show.
Deluxe.
Pharaoh's looking good though. As he gets older, he can handle his liquor a little better, right? But we'll be flowing around. Hopefully, get to see a few people. We'll be posting these videos. So we'll talk to you soon.
I don't care if they talk shit. I don't talk to hypocrites. If you hate me, that's just fine. Go on down and get in line. They try to tell me what I need, and it sure ain't nothing good for me. Don't care what they say, it's all just talk. Gonna head